Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another live stream. And it ended in disappointment for Chelsea at the Etihad, losing 2-0 to Manchester City in the Carabao Cup third round. And having made the final last season, we are now fallen at the first hurdle. I'm in two minds about this one. It's disappointing because it's an opportunity to progress in a cup competition, which is, the easiest one to win in theory in terms of kind of how many matches there are to get to the final. Would have been a great opportunity to try and land a domestic trophy, one that, we've not had in the cabinet for a while. We haven't won a domestic trophy since 2017 with the FA Cup final against Man United, where Eden Hazard scored from the spot. So it's disappointing in that regard. It's disappointing because we're on a losing run at the moment. So it would have been nice to pick up a win there. But then I suppose on the plus side, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, it means we've got less fixtures after the World Cup, which is obviously seen as a plus, but it's always disappointing to lose, and it's disappointing that the fact that we are on this poor on a form at the moment, and the scrutiny will level up again on Graham Potter. I felt tonight that there were positives for sure. The definite positives tonight in terms of Lewis Hall, who I'll get into more detail, was absolutely outstanding tonight. I felt at times, we played out well from the back. We created some good opportunities. We should have scored, but it's the same old story. We cannot score goals, and that is the biggest problem. We're not clinical in front of the goal. We could still be playing now. We wouldn't have scored it. It was just going to be one of those days tonight where we just couldn't stick the ball in the back of the net. Ortega in the City net had a great game. We had a number of good opportunities, and poor finishing let us down tonight, as it's let us down on so many occasions. But there were, look, it's disappointing for sure, 100%. But there were a few positives to take, and I felt players that haven't had too many opportunities did do reasonably well, and perhaps should get more opportunities going forward. But the reality of the situation is that we have lost again. We're not in good form, and the problems we've got at the moment don't look like being any closer to being fixed. Yes, we could have played well, but at the end of the day, it's a results-based business, and it's another loss for us under Potter. It's another loss for Potter, and ultimately, you are judged on the results. So I'm not saying he's under pressure, but that scrutiny will grow on him again with another poor result. And I don't know. This game was always going to be difficult. Man City away in the cup. Yes, rotated lineups, rotated options from both sides, but I think this game really highlighted how far away from Manchester City we are in terms of quality, in terms of squad depth, and in terms of how good we are as a team compared to them. If we're being perfectly honest, slightly poor finishing from them and some great saves from Edouard Mendy is really the main reason why we didn't concede in that first half. Yes, Christian Pulisic, I felt, had a good game, should have done better with his opportunities. There are a number of times where his finishing should have been better, and he should have picked a better pass rather than trying to shoot. So his decision-making was poor in the final third. There were just problems for me. Kind of lapses of concentration costing us again in that second half. I'll get to those shortly. By the way, guys, big up everyone in the chat. Please keep smashing the likes on the stream, and please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Would really appreciate it. RD, yes, bro. Lewis Hall definitely should have scored one of them. The first one was the main one. I think the second one he did really well, but Ortega makes a really good save. What we saying, George? Much better display. Unfortunately, just up against the best. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that, but again, not taking our chances. I'll get on to Lewis Hall shortly. Absolute class from Lewis Hall. The game was good, which we played like this against Arsenal. Yeah, true. This was much better than the previous game, but ultimately the result's still the same. We've still lost. Yeah, Dennis Zakaria looked good as well. I didn't think he was as good as he was against Zagreb, but he was still pretty solid. So yeah, I think it was promising from him. But we can't go full strength in this game. I just think because of the amount of football the players have played, we need to use the squad. And if we're being perfectly honest, yes, this is a trophy and it's the Carabao Cup and you want to win it and you want to progress. But the Newcastle game's far more important in terms of our aspirations for the season. I know it would have been nice to progress, but I can understand why he's made changes for sure. Everyone makes changes for the Carabao Cup. You look up and down the fixtures tonight and the teams that Premier League sides put out, and they were all heavily rotated for the reason that the Premier League games are ultimately more important. I really think. Only Hall impressed me today, but Pulisic and Koulibaly were absolutely horrible to watch. Koulibaly, I felt, was poor, particularly that thing in the wall, which I'll get to. Pulisic, I felt, was okay today. Finishing let him down, but he got in some good positions. He did some promising work, but again, his decision making in the final third was also poor. A number of times when he was in a position to play players in who were in a better position than them, and he tried to go for the shot, take them on. So that really didn't work well for me. Shocking finishing and decision making the final words like a disease. Yeah, it is. It's like the incurable disease. If it's not the creativity that's the problem, then it's the finishing. The finishing has been a massive problem at this club for so long, and I don't really know what we do to fix it, because the fact of the matter is tonight that we've gone to Manchester City against a Pep Guardiola side, and we have created enough opportunities to score 3 or 4 goals, and not many teams go there and do that. So the fact that we know we couldn't stick any of them away is our real Achilles heel, and it's going to cost us so many points in games, and it's going to cost us defeats in so many matches because we cannot put the ball in the back of the net, and that is the biggest problem we've got at the moment. That is the biggest problem. We cannot stick the ball away, and that's nothing to do with the manager because he can't make the players finish those opportunities. But whatever we're doing on the training pitch, whatever finishing we do, players need to work on their composure, their finishing. But for whatever reason, every single time tonight, we had 15 shots tonight, only 5 on target. The finishing is woeful at this football club. And until that change, we're going to have big, big problems. The fact that a player making only a second appearance was the best player shows a lack of quality. Yeah, for sure. And I'll get on to Lewis Hall in a sec. Do we know what Potter is trying to achieve tactics-wise? No, not really, if I'm being perfectly honest. Not confident for Newcastle this weekend. Neither am I. One positive star. Chelsea youth get more minutes on average than any other Premier League side. Yep, for sure. We do. But ultimately, that's great. But we need the results to go with it. It's great to see that, the players from the academy are getting an opportunity and showing that they are good enough and they can perform at this level. But ultimately, we need to pick those results up. And whilst that's all well and good and it's nice to see, the most important thing is the results on the pitch. And those aren't coming at the moment. They really aren't. Anyone who says RLC is good enough is mad. He literally offers nothing and just a spare part. Not good enough even as squad depth. I think not good enough as squad depth is a little bit hard, but I felt he really struggled tonight. And let's start with that. He really Loftus-Cheek struggled tonight. One, he's not a defender. He is not a defensive player, and he wasn't helped at all, particularly in that first half, by Hakim Ziyech, because Ziyech was just like at Brighton with Cucurella and Chalobah. Ziyech was not tracking back and offering any sort of defensive support to Loftus-Cheek. So every time Gomez and Grealish were doubling up on him on that side, Chalobah was coming out to try and help him. But by him coming out, it was leaving space in the middle, and City were exploiting that space. So I did feel for Ruben. I thought it was poor on the ball tonight, if I'm being totally honest. I really do think Ruben should have been better on the ball, but he struggled defensively, and that's one because he's not a defender, and it's two because he wasn't receiving help from Ziyech, when with going with runners. And when you're two against one as a defender, it doesn't matter how good at defending you are, it's always going to be tricky to get away with that, and he just can't. So he was exposed tonight, but I felt it wasn't the best game for him. I think it was just average, really. One thing that the 15-16 season was more enjoyable than this. It's not great at the moment, this. Yeah, this is one thing that I do want to mention. I was really, really disappointed in Graham Potter, having said beforehand that in the pre-match presser the day yesterday that Hutchinson and Lewis Hall were going to feature. We've seen Hutchinson feature was on the bench, unused sub against Brighton. This is a game where he said they were going to feature. Lewis Hall started. He was fantastic, great. Why, when you're 2-0 down with about 15 minutes to go, the game's done, you're not going to win it? Why are you putting on Kai Havertz as the last sub? Why? What is the point in that? You've got a young kid on the bench who's done really well on the development side. His first team opportunities are going to be few and far between for him this season in terms of getting on the pitch. This is the perfect opportunity to do it, to give him some minutes. I thought it was really bad taste and really shit from Potter not to stick Hutchinson on for the last 15 minutes because you've got nothing to lose, and you know exactly what you're going to get from Havertz. This guy, young, hungry, could have made an impact, and he deserved to get minutes on the pitch. So I was really, really disappointed in that. Oh, mate, behave. How can you be? How can mate, that is ridiculous. Look, it's not going well at the moment. But what are we expecting? I say it time and time again. People want a 2 to 3 year rebuild to happen in 2 months, and that's not how building a football team works. Yes, it's difficult for Potter at the moment, for sure, and he needs to do better. But but in terms of like changing the manager, that's not the answer. You know, we could have, I've said it time and time again, we could have any manager in the world in charge right now, and we wouldn't be doing any better than we're doing right now. And that's the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is that we haven't. There's too many players that A, don't want to be at this football club, and B, aren't good enough to be at this football club. And then you couple that with the fact that the tactics at the moment are a little bit off, and it's not a great recipe for producing good results on the pitch. The fact we're missing key players as well, people seem to overlook that. I'm not making excuses, but this is the reality of the situation. Really key first team players missing. We haven't been good for a while. Let's be perfectly honest. People got short memories. We were diabolical under Tuchel in the league at the start of this season. Even at the back end of last season, we were terrible as well. Finished that season really badly. We haven't played good football in the league for so long now. And look, it's far too early to say if Potter's the right manager or not. But what I would say is that it's certainly way too early to be coming to that conclusion. Way too early to come to that conclusion. It's not the solution. It isn't the solution at all. You can see like the football's changed. You know, you can't bring in a manager and then they instantly win the league anymore. I don't think that's possible. I really don't. And the Chelsea fan base is funny because you look at the likes of Pep Guardiola, came in his first season, won no trophies, came fourth. That's the sort of season that at Chelsea, if Potter did that, people would be calling for him. And yet, look what Pep's gone on to do. I'm not saying that, you know, Potter's going to go on and emulate what Pep Guardiola's achieved, but I think the way you achieve success in the league is by having a manager for a number of years, backing them, not backing them blindly. If we end up 10th or whatever, then it's a totally different conversation. But backing them, you know, in the market, giving them the time to develop his ideas, develop his tactics, get his own squad of players together, and then go from there. It's not the solution. Every single manager needs time. And the fact that he's been parachuted into this Chelsea job, which is difficult as it is, partway through a season with no preseason, with no transfer market, the squad in disarray, the dressing room lost, players not happy. That's a really difficult situation to go into. And let's not forget, you know, yes, he probably is out of his depth at the moment because he's never managed at this top level. And it's going to take him time to find his feet. So, you know, people calling for the manager are barking up the wrong tree. For too long now, players at this football club have been allowed to get away with mediocre performances week in, week out, with no ramifications whatsoever. And until there are higher standards at this football club, you know, in terms of level of performance being demanded on the football pitch, things aren't going to change. There's no elite level mentalities within this squad. There's no spine in this squad of players. Hardly anyone in this squad is prepared to die for the badge, prepared to go to war on that pitch. No, when the going gets tough, when people aren't performing well enough, where are those players that on the pitch that are digging out their teammates and demanding more from them? It's not there. It's not there at all. And Chelsea is, you know, at the moment is not an elite level environment. And that's what you need to thrive in. And, Potter needs to demand more from the players. The players need to demand more from themselves. I think Tuchel was sacked for a number of reasons. One, football was dire. Two, the results were really poor. And the main reason, three, he'd lost the dressing room. The players weren't on his side anymore. And also, you know, there were huge disagreements behind the scenes with Bowley and co, and it was untenable to continue. I don't think it's got nothing to do with his ability as a manager. And I guess my main issue with this whole thing is that, you know, it doesn't matter now, but Bowley and co knew that Tuchel wasn't their guy. So don't give him the transfer window. Don't bring him the players in that he supposedly wants and then get rid of him after about 6 or 7 games. Should have got rid of him in the summer. You know, allow Potter the pre-season, allow Potter the time to get more time to get his ideas across, bring in certain players that he wants. Because I'm pretty certain that Potter would never have signed Aubameyang. I don't think personally he would have signed Koulibaly either. He would have perhaps gone for different options. Yes, he's obviously going to be very happy with Sterling and be very happy with Wesley Fofana, but in terms of Koulibaly, in terms of Aubameyang, I think those are players that he perhaps probably wouldn't have signed. And it's difficult when you come in as a manager, particularly when you've never managed at the top level, a big football club where the scrutiny and the pressure's on you so much more. You're so much more in under the public eye, under that microscope. Whereas at Brighton, all right, losing is not great, but it's more accepted, and there's less pressure on you. There's less pressure because you're expected not to do as well. So yeah, it is disappointing, but I feel like you can't judge Graham Potter until he's had time, he's had the opportunity in the markets to bring his players in, and he's got everyone fit as well. Because once again, we're missing Kante. He's virtually been unavailable all season, one of our most important players. We're missing Reece James. We're missing Wesley Fofana. We're missing Ben Chilwell. We've missed Koulibaly for large parts of it. This is 4 or 5 key players that make a massive difference to the way this team plays. So, those are all circumstances, but the reality of the situation is that the football's not good enough at the moment. The players aren't playing well enough at the moment, and the manager is not getting good enough results at the moment. And it's as simple as that. And that's the main problem. Yes, there's going to be, factors to that, but ultimately it boils down to results. And at Chelsea, we are not getting those results at the moment. And that has got to change really quickly, because we're 7th in the Premier League. We're out the Carabao Cup already, and you can't see where the next win's going to come from. And you're going into a game against Newcastle on Saturday, who are flying high. They're 3rd in the table, and you can't see how we get a win. You really can't. Let me just get to a couple of things in the chat before I do go back to the game, because I've slightly segued off there. By the way, guys, keep subscribing to the channel, and please do smash the likes on the stream. Really appreciate all your support. Let's get those likes up and let's get those subscribers up, nearly at the 2K mark. So please help me get there, people. How do we resolve the finishing issues? Is this a player issue or a Chelsea cultural style of play that needs changing? I mean, I just think it's an ability issue. I don't know what it is. I think it's clearly a finishing issue, that the players' finishing is not their strong point. I mean, how do you work on that? Putting the hours in on the training pitch, but then it's very difficult to replicate being through on goal in a match situation. So I don't really know what the answer is, but I think, in reference to what you're saying there, George, in terms of a cultural reset, I think the club does need a cultural reset. I think we need to find a new way of playing. But all these things take time. What's this here, bro? Remember in the 14-15 season, as soon as Costa came in, JT took JT by the shoulder and said, "You go to war with me." He was a new signing at the time. We've lost the DNA of the club. Yeah, we have. There's too many soft people in there. Not enough elite level mentalities, and that is a big problem. No one. That's the issue. They haven't got the elite level mindset. It should be an honour and a privilege to play for Chelsea Football Club. And every time you step on that pitch, you should give 110%. You should leave that pitch knowing that you couldn't have given any more. And some days you won't play well, but as long as you give 100%, the fans will always be on your side. Where things get a bit toxic is when you can see players disengaged, disinterested, not putting their all in, and putting in shit shows week after week after week. That's where it's unacceptable. So at the moment, the players aren't playing well. But if you can see players putting effort in, then I'm always prepared to back them. But when I don't see them putting effort in, that's when I'm not, and that's when I'll start calling players out and saying it how it is. I'm actually happier to see players like Hall and Hutchinson playing, because at least they play for the badge. At the moment, hunger more than skill. Look, I would much rather have someone. I think that hunger and that desire and that dream to play for the club, as it were, that these academy lads have, it means a lot more to them than some of the foreign players coming in. I think that can make up for perhaps a slight lack of skill or being less talented than other players, because they know what it means. It means so much to them, and that can make up for that deficiency in skill. And the likes of Conor Gallagher, the likes of Broja, the likes of Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall was superb tonight. We need to be ruthless with some players. They don't play for the badge, sell them. Yeah, look, Potter needs to be ruthless now. He really does. There's players that aren't good enough, and there's players that need to leave. And if players don't want to sign a new contract, I don't care what your name is, you need to be shown the door. I don't care if it's Kovacic, I don't care if it's Mendy, I don't care who it is. If you don't want to play at this football club, then you need to be shown the door. We've got to start being ruthless, get players out, and we've got to get players in that want to play for this football club. It's as simple as that. We need to get the right blend of youth and experience, but we also have to have the right characters on the team, the right mindset, and most importantly, players that actually want to play for this football club. in theory, we still draw this game tonight if we take our chances. Yeah, but football, unfortunately, is not played on ifs and buts, mate. You know, the reality of the situation is we didn't take our chances. They did. We lost. We're out. They're through. You know, ifs and buts useless in football. The reality is what matters. And once again, we didn't take our opportunities when we presented them. Yeah, I did mention this earlier, bro. You might have not been on the stream then. I was really disappointed. I'm not being discriminatory. I was more just saying that in terms of the academy lads compared to foreign players that may come in. You know, it's going to mean more to them having come through the ranks and having been here from, say, 7-8 years of age to play for the club than it's going to mean for a foreign player coming in to play for Chelsea who's played for multiple other clubs in different countries. You know, it still will mean a lot to them, but the academy lads having come through the ranks will always mean that little bit more to them. That was my point on that one. Yeah, back to the Hutchinson thing. Really, really disappointing not to see him get the minutes. I felt that he probably should have started this game. I personally would have started him instead of Ziyech. But having said that, I felt Ziyech had a half decent game today. But what the really annoying thing was, we're 2-0 down. The game's done. You've got one substitute left. The game's finished, and you chuck it on Kai Havertz instead of Hutchinson. Having said beforehand that Hall and Hutchinson were both going to be involved, to then not involve Hutchinson when there was no reason not to, I felt was really poor from Potter. I felt it was a bit cowardly from him. He took the easy option just to chuck on Havertz and, you know, instead of throwing on Hutchinson, who did really deserve minutes. And I don't know where his next minutes are going to come from. But guys, let's get back to the game itself. I'm just going to have a quick scroll through, see if we've got any post-match reaction. Another disappointing thing as well. I won't bring it up on the screen, but Azpilicueta had to tell players at the end of the game to go back and clap the fans, and Graham Potter was nowhere to be seen either. I don't care, you know, if it's cold, if you've lost, you don't want to do it. You must, every single time, manager, players, all involved, it is inexcusable, win, lose or draw, rain or shine, to not go over and clap the travelling fans. It's a Tuesday night. It's a long trip up to Manchester. It's cold. And the least you can do is go and clap the fans for making the efforts to travel to the game. It's inexcusable to not do that. And thanks Azpilicueta for getting the players to go over and clap. I don't know where Potter was, could have already gone down a tunnel, but it's inexcusable to not go over and as a player, as a manager, to go and clap the fans, whatever the result is. That's really poor taste. And again, I was really disappointed in that as well. But in terms of the game itself, obviously, you know, City started really well, as I said. Ruben being caused all sorts of defensive problems by Gomez, and Grealish on that side not being helped by Ziyech. Grealish for City was I thought was superb tonight. It caused us a lot of issues. But I felt we did defend reasonably well. Mendy made a few good saves. I felt we had a good game tonight, Mendy. And yes, first half we were decent. City had opportunities as well. We took risks at the back. You know, there are a number of times we tried to play out from the back and it didn't work. And there are a number of times when we did play out from the back and we beat the press and we created some good opportunities. You know, I think Christian Pulisic had a really good opportunity. Lewis Hall also had a really good opportunity as well to score. I had a couple of good opportunities actually. But ultimately, you know, we couldn't stick our chances away, and it's been our Achilles heel, and it's what happens all the time, you know, just unable to stick the ball in the back of the net. And until that changes, until we get a ruthless finisher in, then you know, this is not going to change. I don't know how we fix this. I really don't. Maybe before I get back to things, let me get to these things. Found it weird that players like Zakaria, Kova, and Broja were playing well, and they went off when they probably won't start against Newcastle. Yeah, Kova will probably start against Newcastle. Broja and Zakaria, I'd be surprised. Although I would personally play Broja. I think he offers much more than Aubameyang does. Yeah, it's really poor. It's just basic manners. You know, come on. It's a basic thing. You know, I know you've lost and you probably want to get off the pitch and get inside and get home. But, you know, you've got to go and do that. You've got to go and applaud the fans. Disappointed with that too. We can take the loss, but at least can do, yeah, for sure. Chelsea down, big up. Lewis Hall was good. Ziyech was good today. I think was our best player on the pitch. Yeah, Lewis Hall was our best player on the pitch by miles. By the way, guys, as I said before, keep smashing those likes on the channel. And please do subscribe if you haven't done so already. Let's get those subscribers up. Let's run those likes up. Keep going, people. We're doing well here. But yeah, Hall was our best player by a country mile. Honestly, he really was. And then I'll get into him in more detail in the player ratings. But, you get to half time and you're feeling reasonably pleased. There's been moments where we've not been in the game, but there's been moments when we have been in the game and played some good stuff and created some good opportunities, but the finishing has let us down. So you get to half time at 0-0. I'm feeling all right. We've played some good stuff. Probably the best football we've played realistically since the first half of the Milan game, of one of the Milan games. Can't remember which one, but we played some good stuff. But you come out at half time, City within the first 5 minutes, make their changes, make a couple of changes, throw on some big guns. Bernardo Silva comes on, and I can't remember who else came on. That did make a bit of a difference. They stepped it up, and again, I felt tonight we gave away a lot of silly fouls on in and around the box. Koulibaly doing it in the first half. I think Chalobah, the culprit in the second half for this one. Yeah, Lewis Hall he's a massive utility player. He's predominantly a midfield player, as you say, bro. But he can play really well. Excuse me, really well at left wing back, and he can also do a job in midfield, and he can also play left side of a back three as well. So whilst he probably is more naturally a midfield player, he's very versatile and can do well in a number of positions. But yeah, back to the free kick. Look, we're giving away stupid fouls in and around the box. When you're playing a side like City with the quality they've got, with someone like Riyad Mahrez, who is very good at set pieces and from a dead ball, you're always inviting trouble. Look, the free kick is a good strike. There's no mistakes about it. He connects well, and Mendy's not really got a chance to save there. It's too quick before he can really do anything. But what is totally unacceptable is, having seen it back on the replay afterwards, is that the wall does a pathetic job, and particularly Koulibaly in general. I mean, what are you doing? You've got that number 26 on your back from JT. You've got to do that number 26 proud. What are you doing in terms of not jumping in the wall? I mean, what is that? Seriously. I mean, that was pathetic from him. It really was really, really poor. I felt he should have done a lot better there. You've got to jump up. And if he just jumps, the ball probably hits him and that doesn't go in. I'm not saying we go on to win the game, but we obviously don't concede that goal. And I had to make the foul. But what I'm referring to is in the wall, Koulibaly doesn't jump and it goes through him and into the back of the net. If he jumps, that gets blocked. It's just a lack of commitment, a lack of desire on show, and just laziness. In the wall, you're a big guy. Your nickname's the Wall, for fuck's sake. You can't just stand in the wall and not jump. You've got to do better than that. And that was really, really poor from him. But once you go one down, the most important thing is to keep it tight for the next 10 or so minutes, have some nice possession, don't concede a second goal. But unfortunately, like we've done so many times recently, we imploded, we make mistakes, and within 4.5 minutes, that we conceded a second goal. We give the ball away sloppily, City do well. There's a shot on goal. I'm not sure. I can't remember who from. Mendy parries it, and then Alvarez is following it at the back post, and he puts it away. Great striker's instinct, alert at the far stick. If that was in our penalty box, whoever it was probably would have just stood there, and it would have been an easy collection for the goalkeeper, knowing our finishing and our, poor decision making in the final third. But yeah, once you're 2-0 down, it's just sloppy from us, really sloppy. And you get when you're playing the top sides of the top players, you get punished at that level, and that is the difference between the two teams. Is that City punish the opposition when you make mistakes. We don't. We don't punish teams, and we don't take our opportunities. And you could see the difference in quality. And City is kind of the benchmark. It's where we want to get to. And I know these are rotated sides tonight, but both featured a number of first team players. And whilst in moments we matched them and we were better in certain parts of the game, ultimately it was clear as day how big the gap is between us and City in terms of the football we play, in terms of the quality of players, and in terms of the quality off the bench as well. It's as simple as that. We're second best to them in every department. But having said that, we did create enough chances to cause them problems tonight, but we didn't take our opportunities. So it's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. What is not so good is this. Let me bring this up on the screen now. Is our run of form at the moment. It's concerning. To say the very least, it is concerning. This now is Chelsea's worst run since the 17-18 season under Conte. 3 losses from the last 4 games. Nothing to take away from this, positive to take away from this game, apart from Lewis Hall, who probably won't get a look in for months. Awful pressing and wasteful with the chances we had again. 1 of 3 possible trophies gone. Yeah, that's for sure. I think Lewis Hall was the only positive tonight. Again, I guess another positive was the fact that we did create some chances, but ultimately we were second best in every department again tonight. I think it's clear, and this is not a good run of form. Having gone unbeaten in Potter's first 9 games, since the Brighton game, we've won 1 match out of 5. I think we lost to Brighton, then we had Zagreb, which we won, but then we lost to Arsenal, and then we've lost this game. Lost to Brighton. Yeah, 3 of the last 4. So Brighton, Arsenal, and City, 3 of the last 4 we've lost, and the only one we've won is Zagreb. So yeah, that is really that's a concerning run of form, and I can't really see where the next win comes from, because I really at the moment cannot see us beating Newcastle on the weekend, and that is worrying. We got here. There was a moment today when Cucurella had the ball, and the second he got it, Sterling made a back post run, but Cuckoo didn't play the cross and passed it back into midfield. Yeah, I mean, if there's anything elite about Sterling, it's his movement. He used to get those balls time and again at City, and he's a specialist at popping up from 6 to 8 yards and scoring. Doesn't get that here. No, he doesn't. And I think another big problem for us is the fact that we don't take risks when we're on the ball. No one's prepared to try a risky crossfield ball or a risky through ball. They're too afraid to give the ball away. They'd rather take too many touches or play it sideways or play it backwards rather than take a risk and try and play a through ball or try and play a ball over the top. I'd much rather Chelsea players take risks on the ball. I'm not saying every single time, but come on, take a risk on the ball every now and then. Seriously, you've got to take more risks on the ball. You have to. And we just aren't doing that. The more risks you take, the more rewards you're going to get. And we need to do that. And we're not doing that at the moment. So if we're being perfectly honest, it is alarming right now. The run of form we're on, we don't look like winning any games, and it's a problem. It really is a problem. But I don't really know what the answer is. But I do agree that, I mean, let's bring up some Potter quotes here. I'm just going to bring them up now. Let me just get to that window here. So Graham Potter saying after the game, Pete, this has not gone down too well on Twitter with fans. I'll give my opinion in a sec. There were quite a few positives, to be honest, in terms of how we played. We created some good chances. There was a better structure and performance level. The boys showed courage and tried against a top team. I mean, it almost sounds a bit patronising, that as if we're a shit team and we've gone away from home and we showed courage and we tried. That's almost, to me, that feels like, we've gone there as like a championship side or a League One side, and no one's expected us to get anything, and we've turned up and we've given it a go. We are a top team. We are a top team. We're Chelsea Football Club. We are one of the top 4 teams in the Premiership in England. One of the best teams in Europe. Those comments to me, I mean, look, I don't know what context he's saying those in, but it comes across a little bit patronising. It doesn't come across as the right mentality to say to me that, we've come here and we showed courage and we tried against a top team. What we tried, that's the bare minimum. I mean, seriously, how bad are things? We tried. You have to try every time. We shouldn't be praised for trying. City aren't a bigger football club than us. No chance. Not in history, not in anything. Yes, they're more successful than us at this current point in time, but they haven't won a Champions League. They've won no European trophies. They're very much a club on the up in recent years, and they are the standout team. They are the gold standard at this point in time and have been for the last 4 or 5 years. But to suggest Chelsea, current world champions, Champions League winners a couple seasons ago, but the most successful English club in the last 20 years, trophies-wise, to say that, to not think of us as a good team is a bit concerning from the manager. And yeah, the fact that, we showed courage and we tried. I mean, seriously, that sort of speaking coming from the manager, I do find that a bit odd, and I do find that poor, to be honest, because it's speaking as if we're a championship side or a side lower down the leagues, and that just isn't the case. That's what you'd expect from, say, a manager managing a lower league side. You know, we showed courage and we tried against a top team. We are a top team. You know, we need to demand more from that. We need to demand more. Let me bring this comment up. See, Arsenal lost to Brighton and Spurs lost to Notts, but thing is, we are poor. What do you think on Potter? Do we trust him for next season? No. Look, yeah, the Arsenal and Spurs lost tonight. Arsenal, well, they'll be disappointed, but they won't be as disappointed, the fans, because they're top of the league and they've started the season really well. That's the difference. For us, we're 7th. We haven't been playing well at all, and now we're out of a cup, and 1 of 3 trophies is now gone. Obviously, the Premier League, I mean, realistically, you can say 1 of 2 trophies is now gone. So half our options of winning a trophy have gone. I don't think we're going to win the Champions League by any accounts. Spurs, it's poor for them to go out to Forest, because Spurs desperately need a trophy, and this is the easiest trophy to win. And to go out to Forest is really poor from them, terrible from them. What do you think on Potter? Needs time. I think he's a good manager, but he's not experienced at this top level. He's not experienced with working with world-class players in the squad. I still trust him to get something out of this season. I almost feel this season's a free hit in terms of him, but the January window is going to be really important, and after the World Cup, it's going to be really crucial to how we play. It's going to be so important because, you know, we're 7th at the moment. We really need a win on Saturday to head into the World Cup on at least a positive note, because it doesn't get any easier after the World Cup. But he's definitely obviously got this season. Depends on where we finish. But if we were to finish, say, you know, 7th or 8th or something, then you would have to ask serious questions. But you've got to back the manager and give him time. You have to. Yeah, agreed. We never shoot from outside the box either. That I don't understand that. No, he doesn't really have any world-class players. Well, there are some world-class players. I say Thiago Silva, Reece James, Kante has been. But yeah, we've got a lack of world-class footballers. We do, but you know, he's not worked with this level of footballer before, and it is different. And why did we have ROC on if we had Koulibaly and Silva and Aspie on? I don't think we lose that, to be honest. But why? Yeah, I don't understand why Koulibaly didn't jump. I personally would have gone with a back 4 tonight. But you know, it is what it is. I don't think the system was that bad. And as the comments suggest here, I do think we actually played okay in moments. Some of the build-up play was nice, and we did create some chances. But you know, you're scraping the barrel when you're saying, "Oh, we created some chances," and that's like a and that's a positive. That isn't a positive at all. But I think it's also important to realize, you know, you can't look at that game and then think that the problem's Graham Potter. You know, it's clear what the issues are. We aren't good enough. We haven't got good enough players. We haven't got a good enough squad. We haven't got enough players there's too many players don't want to be here, and we can't finish. And a number of those things aren't the manager's fault. Yes, he can do better in certain situations. Yes, in-game management can be better. Yes, tactics can be better. Yes, team selections could be better. But in terms of, you know, making us finish chances and whatnot, and making those, it's really hard to come in and instantly, in a short space of time, make players that have been underperforming for a long time now to suddenly perform. What's my January looking like? Probably fucking busy. If our form on the pitch is anything to go by, we desperately need a right back, and we need to reinvest in midfield if possible. Just whatever business we can do, we need to get it done, because we need reinforcements and we need quality, and we need it quickly, because we haven't got it at the moment. And you know, it's going to be a long season. More injuries will be picked up after the World Cup. Of course they will, and we need this. We need the squad to deal with it. And if we think we need to Newcastle Saturday, if we have RLC, please don't play him. Zakaria won't start on Saturday. I can already tell you that now. And that's just the way it is, unfortunately. He won't play on Saturday. But it is what it is, unfortunately. That's the situation. Mourinho, Conte, sorry, Lamps, Tuchel have all complained about mentality of the players. No, look, look, this is twofold. The mentality of the players is not good enough, but how do you change the mentality? You know, that's tricky. That takes a long time to change the mentality, to change the DNA. But we haven't got. I think the mentality comes from recruiting the right characters, And I don't think we've got the right characters at the moment. You know, look back over the years. JT, Czech, Drogba, SEM, Ballack, Lampard. These are all big characters, you know, elite level mentalities, you know, big characters, as I said, and that makes a big difference. And they do anything on the pitch for each other. And these players won't. These players won't. The environment, I think, at the moment is pretty toxic, I'd say, at Chelsea right now. What else we got? You keep bringing in more and more new managers into a toxic environment and keep making it more toxic. Yeah, it needs a structure and it needs time. And it's all very well, you know, profiling the right player, getting the right quality in, but more arguably as important or potentially more important as the ability as a player is the mindset, is the mentality. We as you said in the chat here, you know, we completely misprofile in terms of players and characters. But I think we're getting it more wrong in terms of characters as well, because the fact that almost every manager, and obviously not Potter yet, because he's been here a short amount of time, is questioning the mentality of this group. That's really concerning. And that's something we've got to do better in, is recruiting the right profile of player and the right character as well, because that is really important. Yeah, I mean, can't be much worse, mate. Can't be much worse. I'm going to get into some player ratings now. Let's bring that up on the screen. Guys, please get involved in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on the ratings, and please keep smashing the likes and subscribing to the channel as well. Would really appreciate it. Let's get those likes up, people. Let's try and at least get this to 20 likes. I know that doesn't sound like much, but we're not quite there yet. So let's reach that. Let's reach that 20 likes mark. So if you're in the chat now and you've not smashed that like button, please do smash the likes. And please do subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already. I think about 2 or 3 subscribers away from 1,850. So let's reach that little milestone. It's about ticking off those small milestones on the road to 2K. So please do smash the likes and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I'm seeing a few new faces in the chat, which is great, but please do subscribe to the channel. Please do. Let's have a look here. Nicole, big up. It is not just recruiting the right players. It's also important to recruit medical staff, physio, body kits. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we haven't got rid of the whole medical department, of course, but he got rid of the chief medical officer, chief medical officer. I sound like I talk about fucking COVID there. I got rid of the chief medic at the club. Got rid of some physios that have been there for a while. At least publicly, it's not been made clear that those people have been replaced. So we need to get top level people in all departments. Like we've been building that kind of scouting and recruitment department, we need to build a world class medical department. And it takes time to get these things right. We've got to do it. But yeah, you know, it is concerning. But yes, let's start. Let's kick things off. Edouard Mendy. Yes, I know he let in 2 goals tonight, but I actually felt he had a good game. He made some outstanding saves, particularly in the second half from Jack Grealish. And yeah, he was really good tonight. He kept us in the game in terms of he kept the scoreline down. Without him, it could have been much worse. I felt with the ball at his feet, I felt really nervous. I still feel nervous. His distribution is poor, but he did make some fantastic saves. So, you know, I felt on the whole, it was a good night for Mendy. There was not really anything he could do about either of the goals. Yeah, you know, you could argue he should perhaps parry it into a less dangerous area, but I think that's a little bit harsh on him. I felt he was good tonight, made some really good saves and kept the scoreline respectable. So, I mean, guys, let me know in the chat, but I think I'd personally give him a 7. I felt it was a decent performance tonight from him, and he did make some really good saves. Moving on to the back line now. Let's start with Trevor Chalobah. Obviously, I think if I'm mistaken, please do correct me, but I'm pretty sure he gave away the foul that for the free kick that led to the goal. But I felt that he did okay tonight. You know, not one of his better nights, but I felt he defended well at times. Obviously, he had to come over and help Loftus-Cheek out because he wasn't getting the help from Ziyech. And that then left a lot of space in the middle. He wasn't outstanding by any means tonight. It was one of his best. It wasn't a terrible game, but you know, he didn't really do anything bad, but he didn't exactly do anything that stood out for me. And giving the foul away for the free kick, whilst we needed to kind of had to maybe do that, it's giving away, you know, goal scoring opportunities in and around the box, and that's dangerous. I mean, Yeah, it is true. Chalobah has played a lot of football recently, and that's why I think he came off towards the end for Aspie, just to give him a little bit of a breather. But I imagine he's probably going to get a month off. I don't think he'll be selected for the World Cup squad, even though I feel he should be in there. He will have a month off, so there'll be time for him to recuperate. But in terms of Chalobah, I think I'll probably give him a 6 tonight. I think that's probably pretty fair, if I'm being honest. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the chat. Everyone, please do get involved. Let's move on to Koulibaly. Shaky tonight. I didn't think a great performance. Gave away a stupid foul on the edge of the box in the first half. Picked up a booking early doors on a bit of a knife edge for the rest of the game. And that's not great from him. The thing in the wall was really, really poor. That was terrible. You've got to show that desire. You've got to show commitment. And the fact that he didn't show that commitment in the wall, the most basic of things, is to jump in the wall. That's your one job. You've got one job to do, try and block the ball. You're a big guy. Your nickname's the wall. And yet you just stood there and did fuck all. That's unacceptable. And that probably did cost us a goal there. I'm not saying it cost us the game, but I think it cost us a goal. I mean, he didn't look assured at all. He looked nervy on the ball. He looks a bit rash. And as said in the chat here, if you're wearing a number 26, you've got to represent that jersey properly. And he didn't do that number 26 justice tonight. I felt it was a poor game from him, and I've not been that impressed with him recently. He's been mixed since he's come in. It's going to take time for him to adjust. But yeah, I felt as a senior defender tonight, it was a bit disappointing from him. I'm probably looking at I'll give him a 4.5. I wasn't that pleased with him, to be perfectly honest. Moving to Cucurella, I would have preferred to see him play at left wing back, but Lewis Hall was superb, so I haven't got too many issues with that. I felt Cucurella had a half decent game. I think he defended well. He got forward well in moments, and he was always looking for that out ball. He was the one player that perhaps was kind of trying a few risks with a few passes. I don't think he got caught out too many times, if at all, defensively. I felt he was pretty good, and I would probably say that he was the best of the bunch out of the defenders. I mean, I wouldn't give him a 7, but I think a 6.5. I don't really think he was that bad today, for sure. And I think he was probably a touch better than Chalobah. And I think a 6.5 is probably fair. It's probably fair for him. Let's move on now then to Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Playing at right wing back. We've seen him do a good job there in the past, but ultimately that's not his position. It's not what he does well. He struggles defensively. He was hung out to dry a little bit, as I've said a number of times already. And I felt he had a difficult game today. I really don't think he was that good. He was better than Koulibaly, but I think a 5 is probably fair for him. I don't think I can really go much. I think he was just it wasn't great. Was he worse than Koulibaly? I'm not too sure. Do you know what I might do actually? I'm going to give Ruben a 4.5. I think those two are probably the worst two on the pitch, if I'm being totally honest. I'm going to also change that to RLC because it's not sitting nicely in the parameters of the pitch. Right, 4.5 for Ruben. I think him and Koulibaly were pretty poor. In terms of Denis Zakaria, great to see him start. Great to see him get an opportunity against a better side because he deserved it after what he did against Zagreb. I felt this perhaps wasn't as good as it was against Zagreb, but I still feel that he did a pretty solid job. Nothing spectacular, and at times you didn't really notice him on the pitch, but he didn't do anything wrong. You can see his physicality. He breaks up play. He does some nice passes on the ball and whatnot. So, look, not as good as it was against Zagreb, but it was by no means terrible. And I think I'd probably give him a 6. I'd give him a 6 as well. I think a 6 for Zakaria is fair. Moving on to Mateo Kovacic, skipper for the night. I've got to be perfectly honest. I felt Kovacic had a poor game tonight. Not up to his usual standards. Giving the ball away cheaply on a number of occasions. Passing not great. Not really having much of an influence on the game. I felt this was one of his worst games for a while. He wasn't the worst player on the pitch by any means. But yeah, it wasn't much better than Ruben or Koulibaly. I think for Cover, I'm going to give him a 5. I don't think it wasn't good from him tonight. It really wasn't. I think I was actually going to give Koulibaly a 4 because I was disappointed in him. Kovacic a 5. I think that's pretty fair. If you think that's harsh, please do let me know. But yeah, I'm surprised he started as well. But he's obviously going to play in the World Cup. Someone had to play in midfield because Jorginho wasn't available. Kante obviously unavailable. Ruben's playing right wing back. You haven't really got that many other choices to play in that pivot with this system. So it kind of had to be him almost by default. But yeah, a 5 for Mateo Kovacic. Not his best. Someone that's going to get a very high rating. I felt it was absolutely superb tonight. Lewis Hall. I'm going to give him a 9. Would have been the perfect 10 if he'd stuck one of those chances away, but it wasn't to be. But he was the only player for me tonight that looked assured on the ball, looked confident, was fearless in his play. Range of passing was superb. Great change of pace, beating players, taking players on, getting into the box, getting forward well, getting into goal scoring positions. Yes, he should have scored, but he was the only one for me tonight that can come away with any credit at all for putting in a good performance and being pleased with himself. Hall was superb tonight, and given the fact that Chile's injured and out long term, I think we should expect to see a little bit more of Lewis Hall in the team for sure. And there's no reason why he shouldn't be involved against Newcastle at the weekend. If we go with this system again, I would play Lewis Hall left wing back, and I'd probably play Aspie right wing back if we go with the 3-4-3. But it's going to be difficult. But Lewis Hall was superb tonight, a real big plus, absolutely outstanding. And we need to see more of him. It would have been a perfect 10, but he just didn't stick it in the back of the net when he could have done a bit better. But yeah, he was superb tonight. Really, really impressive performance from him, and certainly deserves more opportunities in the first team going forward. I think my best position is in the middle. Yeah, I mean, look, it's important that we don't overhype players too much. It's been really good from Lewis Hall, but we've got to allow the guy to develop at his own rate, get more opportunities. Don't start hyping him up as the sort of the next best thing. Yes, he's done really well tonight, but let's try and keep some of it in check, because putting unrealistic expectations on players that really doesn't help anyone. But tonight he was superb, and it looks like he's got a really bright future and definitely deserves more minutes at the club. We need structure and the manager to pull on them now and stop being over-friendly with these players, because there's no spirit in these players and no mentality strength. Yeah, Potter's going to have to get ruthless now. He's going to have to pick players on form, on merit, players that deserve to play. He's going to have to think about doing something different, because what we're doing at the moment isn't working. I think at the moment the back three is a bit too predictable. I don't know if you mean, I'm not sure, Athar, if you mean this in terms of it's ridiculous that I've given Hall a 9 compared to everyone else, or it's laughable because this is a young kid that's come in for only his second ever appearance for Chelsea and he's done so much better than a load of established players. I presume that's what you mean. But yeah, Lewis Hall absolutely superb tonight. Real positive. And it's important that we, blood him into the team. I can't find the word. Bed him into the team slowly, and not to put too much expectations on him, but tonight utterly superb. Let's move on to the front three then. Hakim Ziyech, I was a bit pissed that he started because I felt Hutchinson should have started. But having said that, I felt Ziyech did okay today. Good going forward, put some decent balls into the box, but unfortunately there wasn't really anyone there to get on the end of them. Obviously didn't provide any defensive help whatsoever or going with the runners. So Ruben was obviously always up 2 against 1 on that side, as I said before. But it was better from Ziyech tonight. Not great, but it's clear that he's not got a future at this football club at all. He obviously doesn't want to be here. And hopefully maybe if we can come to a solution to get rid of him in January, then that's the way to go. But yeah, not the best tonight from Hakim Ziyech. Really not the best, but not terrible either. Some nice moments on the ball. Probably slightly better than Kovacic. I think, to be fair, I'm thinking either a 5.5 or a 6. I'll probably go 5.5 for Ziyech. If I'm being totally honest. Christian Pulisic again. Moving on to him, I felt like he had a decent game. He should have done better in terms of sticking the ball in the net. His finishing was poor. That let him down. That opportunity that he had in the first half was really good. And you've got to be doing better when the ball comes to you in the middle of the goal in the 6-yard box. You have to be sticking that away at this level. And the fact that he didn't was a problem. It was a problem. He should have done better, but that's the reality of the situation. He didn't. And I felt as well there are a number of times where his finishing obviously let him down, but what I meant to say was that his decision-making in the final third was poor. He found himself in a number of positions where there were teammates in better areas, and instead of passing to them, either took an extra touch or tried to shoot. A number of times where he didn't play Lewis Hall in, where Hall was in a really good position and made a great run forward and didn't use him. But this wasn't terrible from Christian Pulisic. He was better than Hakim Ziyech, that's for sure. I think he was bright tonight. I'll give him a 6.5. Actually, I'll give him a 6 because the finishing was dreadful. Actually, no, 6.5, and then I'll probably give Broja a 6. Look, he didn't have. Yeah, agreed. Pulisic's decision making is awful. Doesn't know what to do in a final third and doesn't take enough risks. Still has plenty of potential though. Yeah, but we've been saying this for years now. We spent 60 odd million on this guy, and we're still talking about he's got potential. He just hasn't realised it. And at some point, the penny's got to drop, and he's got to start delivering for this football club. But it was better from him tonight. It was better. But he has got to do. He's got to do better. He really has got to do better. He's got to do better. For sure. But yeah, I just I don't know. Pulisic, it was difficult tonight. But he showed some good moments. But ultimately, he should have scored tonight, and his decision making's got to improve. In terms of Broja, I felt he was promising tonight. Good pace, good physicality, some nice work on the ball. Didn't have too many opportunities, but he offers so much more than Aubameyang does. He makes the runs. He's hungry. He's got pace. He wants the ball. He's not afraid to shoot. I felt, I don't know. I think he was decent tonight. I do think he was decent tonight. And I think he deserves a bit of a run in the team. But yeah, it was difficult because he wasn't feeding on an awful lot. Didn't have too many chances himself, despite the fact that we created a number of opportunities. I don't remember one of those opportunities being for Pulisic, so he probably should have done slightly better in that regard. But yeah, I mean, something to work on for Broja. I think he should start against Newcastle. I don't think he will because he played this game and because Potter will obviously go with Aubameyang, I would think. But I think Broja should start against Newcastle. I really do. And it was better from Broja tonight. I think positive from him, and I would probably give him a 7. If I'm being totally honest, because I just think he did pretty well, and he was one of the better players tonight. Guys, keep smashing the likes on the stream, please, and keep subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Would really appreciate it. Let's get those subscribers up. I'm still 3 away from 1,850. So there's 3 of you in here that definitely haven't subscribed. I'm sure of it. So please do subscribe to the channel, guys. Let's hit that 1850 mark. And get me a couple steps closer to that 2K mark. So yeah, 3 of you. There's definitely 3 of you that are not subscribed. So please hit the subscribe button, guys. We'd really appreciate it, and keep running those likes up, guys. Please keep running those likes up. We're only on 13. Let's at least try and get to 15. Or realistically, guys, we should be getting to 20 likes. That's 7 more likes. So please do run the likes up. We've done okay so far. We can do so much better. So run up those likes and subscribe to the channel, people. Would really appreciate it. Average rating of all players except Hall is 5.8. Says a lot. Yeah, not a great night for performances from players tonight. Too many players not good enough this evening. Yes, Atharv, big up, bro. Run the likes up. Run the likes and subs up. Yep, people, you heard him. You know what to do. Dave, big up. I haven't seen you in the chat before. Could be new. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Please do subscribe. As I said, the whole side is bloody shambles, and will be unless they get a decent manager in instead of Harry Potter's idiot brother. The problems predate Potter. I personally, the results have not been good under Graham Potter recently. But personally, I feel like how much better can we really expect of this same group of players and in such a short space of time? Let's not forget it's the same group of players that at the start of the season under Thomas Tuchel were playing, the same or if not worse football than we're currently seeing. We've got to be patient, and only time will tell if Potter's the right manager or not. But the answer is not to get rid of the manager, and the answer is certainly not to start calling for the manager. We've got to get behind everyone and back them at this point. But yeah, it's certainly disappointing. We're on a poor run of form, and the scrutiny and the intensity of the pressure will rise around Potter, not in terms of his job security, but just in terms of people talking. And that's what comes with the with the territory of managing a big football club like Chelsea. Losing three out of your last 4 games, that invites pressure. Yes, bro. Yeah, for sure. Let's get us up to 2. We're not going to hit 2K tonight because that requires about another 150 subs. But yeah, please do get me on the way to the 2K subs. We're not far away now, people. So please do help me get there. Would really appreciate it. But yeah, look, it's clear to see tonight that the players that have got the highest ratings are the youngest players in Hall and Broja. The 2 guys perhaps with the most to prove. And I think they should both start on Saturday. They really should. But yeah, look, despite being slightly positive in moments, ultimately it was another disappointing performance from Chelsea tonight. Crashing to a 3rd defeat in 4 games, our worst run of form since Antonio Conte was in charge. And things don't really look like getting any better, and it doesn't get any easier. We have another trip to Newcastle on Saturday, which is going to be a really difficult game. We're 7th in the table. That's not great. It's really not great, and we are not in a good run of form. Really not in a good run of form, and that's got to change. But what I will say is there's no point judging Graham Potter until we get rid of players who aren't good enough and don't want to be here, because it's the tactics until then are almost irrelevant because he's not working with what he wants. And I think that's a really important point to make there. I think we should give Hall a chance against Newcastle. Yeah, exactly. He's not going to do any worse than anyone else would do. So I think we should give Hall a chance against Newcastle for sure. Look at our form since March. This is the same issue that Tuchel had. And it's look, I'm not saying it's 100% the players, but it is mostly the players that are to blame here. Look at our form since March. Tuchel had the same issues as well. And we will have to go through, let me just make this clear to round out. We will have to go through some struggles, but these are necessary struggles in order for us to become a serious outfit again. We have to go through these struggles, and we're going to have to be patient, and we're going to have faith. And look what Potter did at Brighton in his last year. They played some really good stuff, and they're a great side to watch. And if he can replicate something like that at Chelsea, then we are onto something. But it's going to take time. And until we get rid of players that aren't good enough and don't want to be here, then we're going to go through more difficult moments, and we're going to lose football matches, and we're going to go on more poor runs. What do you want to see for the last PL game before the World Cup? 10 words or less. A win, basically. Simple as that. A win and some fight and some desire. And yeah, I think that's what I want to see. 3 points, some fight, some desire, and then we can get to the World Cup, forget about the season for a little bit. Struggling doesn't mean one can't win a game. No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is that, you can't expect to win every game. I don't think we do expect to win every game. So we expect to be doing better than we are. But we are going to have to go through struggles. And struggles, whilst not necessarily meaning losing, it does mean we're going to have to basically go through some difficult moments. And that will include more losses. It will include some draws in games perhaps that we should have won. But it's going to be necessary for us in order for us to become serious in the long term again. Because at the moment, we are a long way off winning any trophies in terms of the Premier League, Champions League. You never know what's going to happen in that, but it doesn't look likely given how we're playing. But it is a bit of a shambles at the moment. It's a mess, but it has been a mess for a long time. But all we can do as fans is stay patient and just keep the faith. Back the players, back the manager, give criticism where necessary. But one thing for certain is, and I'll round out on this. The answer is not changing the manager. Let me make that 100% clear. He's been here 2 months. It's the same players that we had before. And we had the same problems with a far better manager than Graham Potter. And it's going to take time to change that. It's going to take time to change it. And we have to be patient. And things will get worse before they get better. Ultimately, we don't know if Graham Potter is going to be the right man in the long run. We have to wait and see. But one thing we do have to do is give him the time, give him the opportunity to bring his own players in. And he can make a difference. And we have to be patient. Patience is the key. But yeah, guys, seems like a good point to round out here. A disappointing night for the Blues, going out of the Carabao Cup. Another domestic trophy bites the dust. One more game left now until the World Cup. Newcastle away on Saturday. Guys, please, on your way out, smash the likes on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Really appreciate interacting with you in the chat and all your insight. I will be back. I think I'll be back tomorrow, actually, for a reaction to the Gareth Southgate's England World Cup squad. And then I'll be back on Friday as well with a match preview for the Newcastle game. So plenty of content coming in the next few days, guys. So please make sure you tune in for that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And up the Chelsea.